right, sweet. Flatline MMA podcast episode number 43. The boys are back. I know we took a little hiatus. We were doing fighter interviews. Go check out the 2 interviews we did last week with the number 9 ranked bantamweight, Cody Stamen, and the number 10 ranked bantamweight, Rob Font. Click the link below to go check out those videos. Those guys were awesome. We got some good content in there, so go check those out. Let's get right into it. UFC Vegas 5 this weekend, headlined by Derek Brunson and Edmund Shabazian. A couple fights that we really wanted to talk about here. This one, the dynamic, I feel like this was a cursed card. It went from 15 fights all the way down to 9. There was fighters fainting before they were walking out. That canceled the fight. We had some coronavirus positive tests that, shut down some of these fights, some weight cutting issues. This card had it all. So it ended up being 9 fights. I thought overall we got, for the main card, finishes after finishes after finishes. So I can't complain about that. So let's just start off with first one, a guy who's always fun to watch, Vicente Luque, Randy Brown. Jesus Christ. I feel like every time we talk about Vicente Luque, he's either in an absolute war or he's got a crazy knockout. Getting it done in the second round, taking out Randy Brown with, he got it done with with his hands, but the knee, man, holy shit. And for him, I know, people are talking about his IQ there. He knew the hands weren't down. He used the knee brilliantly without getting DQ'd. We've seen that before, but holy shit. What did you think about Luque, man? Because I feel like he's getting better. Obviously, he had that Wonder Boy fight where, he definitely got humbled in that fight. But, other than that, this kid is an absolute killer, man. What did you think about that performance?
Yeah, every time he comes out, he gets better and better. And this time, he seemed a lot more calculated in his fight. We've seen him in a bunch of wars where he's always seems to be a little bit more technical and a little bit tougher than his opponent, and it gets him through. But this, he implemented his game plan early with those low calf kicks. It took away Brown's jab, which I guess is one of his big weapons. And, he was chopped that leg the entire fight and didn't stop. And, had knockdowns, had a few takedowns, which, he's got the advantage on the ground, but he let him come back up. He saw how much success he was having with those leg kicks. Continue with the game plan. And, like you said, that knee, it was split seconds away from being illegal, but, he held him up. He had him in front headlock, held him up just long enough to land that knee, and then he finished the fight without, taking too much damage. Usually we see him in some wars, but this one was a lot more calculated.
Yeah, and, like you said, going off, this kid's just an exciting fighter. He said it in his post-fight interview. He comes for the finishes. He comes to excite the fans. He ended up calling out Nate Diaz because he's higher up than him in the rankings there. I don't think Nate would ever take that fight, but I kind of respect the call out, man. Like, they're right there in the rankings together. I think that'd be a fun fight. You think Nate would ever take that or what?
I don't know. It's tough to predict what Nate will do.
Yeah.
To be honest, he could turn down a Conor fight. He's always thinking something different than what most people are. So he's a tough one to get to sign a contract. But I don't know. I guess if it ends up being like a main event, if they offer that,
yeah,
I could see him possibly coming back for that. But who knows? I think Luque's got so many options. He's got so many big wins behind him right now.
Yeah.
And he's finishing fights too. He's not just winning by decisions or close decisions. He's coming to finish. So, I expect him to get a big fight next if it's not Diaz.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think the UFC kind of owes him that. I feel like this kid is active. I feel like we're seeing him all the time. He's fighting, 3-4 times a year. I feel like always getting a bonus, man. Like this kid's a bonus machine. So I'm hoping he gets a big fight next. The welterweight right now division, there's a lot of fights playing out. You got like Jeff Neal, and Neil Magny fight. And I think maybe that'd be a potential fight for him next, something like that, the winner of that. A lot of, like you said, ton of options for Luke Gay. And, you know, he's only progressing in his career. I think that Wonder Boy fight, definitely a roadblock for him, but, you know, he's come back stronger after that fight. So we'll see what happens with him there. And then in the co-main, just real quick, just want to touch upon this. Joan Calderwood taking on Jennifer Maia. You got to feel for Calderwood on this one. She got submitted in the first round via armbar. She didn't have to take this fight. She was kind of next in line for Valentina for a title shot. She's a badass. She wanted to take this fight, and unfortunately it kind of backfired on her. Looks like Jennifer Maia is going to get that next shot. Valentina tweeted right after, said, "You're next" at Jennifer Maia. So overall, that one was quick. It ended in the first round there, but you got to feel for Calderwood on this one because she risked it all. Definitely could have waited to get that title shot, but good for Maia getting the job done. She's brutal on the ground, so great performance by Maia there. And then let's go right to the main event because I know this one definitely a lot of questions here because you got Derek Brunson, who's an absolute UFC vet, fought everyone and their mother, you know what I mean? Got wins over, some good guys. And his losses are over some of the legends of the sport. You know what I mean? You got Anderson Silva, Yoel Romero, right? Like guys like that, that are killers. Who's taking on Edmund Shabazian, who is this 22-year-old kid. He's a phenom. 11 fights, 10 first-round finishes. And it's just so many unanswered questions with him. He hasn't been out of the first round more than once. We didn't know what his gas tank was going to look like. And Brunson just took it to him, man. Finished him. Really should have been finished at the end of the second, which I think we all agree. I think he was out on that final punch in the second round. I thought they should have called it. They brought him back up in the third, said, "You okay?" And they went back out, and Brunson kind of finished the job there with, a third-round TKO. So, the hype train kind of ended there for Edmund. Obviously, he's still 22 years old. I think he gets a lot of the hype because Ronda Rousey is head coach. He was his her training partner when he was 15, getting her ready for fights and stuff. So kid had a lot of hype behind him. But what'd you think about this main event? I think Brunson definitely made a freaking statement.
Yeah, I think Brunson looked great. Like usually you see him come out a little wild.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like his toughness brings him through. He just outlasts most people. And which also gets him in trouble with the more technical fighters, like we've seen with Izzy and some of those other fighters that have finished him. But he was pretty calculated. Like he used his wrestling when they were close to the cage. He started to calm down, like when they were fighting in the middle. He didn't rush. He didn't do anything erratic. But he used his wrestling in the first round. I think he got two takedowns.
Yep.
That actually took his back twice, but Edmund was able to stand up. And then going into the second round, which I thought was brilliant, he already hit him with the threat of the takedown. So he started putting Edmund on the cage, kind of starting for a takedown.
Yep.
And then he'd come up and he would land like 3 or 4 bombs. So Edmund's thinking takedown, he's defending takedown, he doesn't have his hands up at all. And then Brunson just ditches it and starts landing some bombs. So I thought that was awesome on his part. Definitely the end of the second, I mean, he laid it on thick like that last 10 seconds. You did see Edmund's arm kind of go limp.
Yep.
He was defending a little bit, and then he got hit with one, and then his arm kind of fell to his side, which kind of, signifies that, he's not defending himself intelligently. But, it was the end of the round. Herb Dean had the doctor come in, take a look at him. Edmund said he wanted to fight. So I think the ref did everything he could. He didn't want to take that fight away from him. He let the doctors decide. He let the fighter decide. The corner had the chance to step in. But going into that third round, he looked like he was completely out of it. Brunson got that early takedown relatively easy. It looked like he was just out of the fight and he wanted it to be over. So it was a good stoppage on Herb Dean's part. And I think it was a good call on his part as well to let the fight go on and allowed everybody their opportunity to stop the fight.
Yeah, no, I agree too, because even when Brunson made a pretty good point after the fight. He said, listen, if fights are stopped early, you can't see these crazy comebacks. And he gave Edmund his credit. He was like, the kid was tough, right? He stuck in there with him. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a little bit, you know, I thought he should have stopped it just because when I saw the arm go limb, I was like, Jesus Christ, like, I don't know how much more this kid could take. You can tell his gas tank was just at E, which I think a lot of people question coming into the fight. He's a first round fighter. What's he going to do getting out of the first? Is he going to have the gas tank for it? And then, like you said, the third round, I think he came out of his corner, and I think we kind of knew what the result was going to be there. But great job for Brunson, man. He looked better than ever, honestly. And like you said, I think he's looked a lot, a little lackadaisical in his past fights, but on a 3-fight win streak right now. What's next for him? I know he kind of called for, I know Till called out Hermanson after his loss recently to Whitaker. So I don't know. I think Brunson said, hey, I want the winner of Till Hermanson. Does that make sense for him? Or do you think maybe he gets like a Gastelum or someone like that, maybe someone a little bit higher up in the rankings? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that could, because he's number 8 right now. Looking at the rankings, just trying to see who else is out there for him.
Yeah, you got Gastelum, you got Romero, who he's already lost to, and then you're getting to the top 5 territory. So I mean, Uriah Hall, I know he's fighting, so it's like there's options there. There's just once he creeps into the top 5, he's already lost to a couple of those guys: Whitaker, Romero, obviously Izzy. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I think I like the Gastelum fight.
Yeah.
He's got, so Gastelum's coming off a loss to Till and to Hermanson.
Yes.
So he's kind of 0-2 since entering this division. And Brunson, let's see, it's a 2-fight win streak.
He's on 3-fight win streak right now.
3-fight win.
Yep.
3-fight win streak right now. So yeah, before that, he's got losses to Izzy, back-to-back losses to Izzy and Jacare, beating the Cheetah.
Lost to Whitaker, lost to Romero.
Yeah, you know what? I think I like the Gastelum fight for him.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a fun one.
Yeah, we all know how tough Gastelum is, and obviously Brunson showed his toughness, made an absolute statement in there too. And then I guess for Edmund, do you think this was like too far of a jump in competition for him? Do you think him being at that number 9 spot, do you think that was just too much for him? Do you think the UFC should have given him a couple more fights to crack the top 10? What do you think there?
Yeah, I mean, he's only 22. I mean, I don't know. It's tough to call because you see him on such a streak right now, right? Before this fight, he's getting first round knockouts. He's winning pretty impressively over all of his opponents, and he made his way into the top 15 pretty quick. And he's been training alongside, world-renowned coaches, like you said, since he was 15. So, all that, you think he'd be ready for this, but still, he's only a 22-year-old kid. So I think I would have liked a little bit more time before, he fought somebody of Brunson's caliber.
Yeah.
But then again, it's going to have to happen at some point. There's never going to be a perfect moment for it. So
yeah,
I think it was a risk for him, and but whatever. Now he has to learn.
Yeah, and I think where the UFC was going. Obviously, this kid had a dream of being the youngest champion ever at 22 years old, and I think they wanted to kind of give him the Izzy treatment, right? Izzy, his biggest fight before kind of getting all these bigger fights was he beat Brunson. You know what I mean? He beat Brunson, and I think Brunson might be known as that gatekeeper. So I think the UFC was hoping, hey, if Edmund can get past Brunson, we're gonna give him a top 5 next, and then Izzy. I mean, I don't know what was going through their head, but like you said, obviously the kid is super talented, still 22 years old. Look at guys like Sean O'Malley, right? when he came in, he was 22, and then he had the big suspension, right? Cody Garbrandt, champion at 25. He was a young guy. So, I mean, this kid's got one loss, and to a guy like Brunson in the top 10, he's going to come back his next fight. He's going to be stronger. So, curious to see who they match him up with next year. I'm assuming he'll still stay within the top 15. But regardless, obviously the kid's a big name now. Although he's coming off a loss, he's still got the name behind him. Still going to get a huge fight there. So, curious to see what happens with those two guys next. Overall, as much as a shit show UFC Vegas 5 was, Dana was able to pull it off, with 9 fights, and, they were all pretty good. So you can't really, doubt Dana White with anything he does. And then moving to this weekend's card, we got UFC Vegas number 6. This is just what they're calling him now. Again, at the Apex. We have a massive heavyweight fight right now. We have Derek Lewis taking on Alexei Oleinik in the main event spot. Co-main, let's talk about that real quick. We got Omari Akhmedov taking on Chris Weidman. So we got Weidman coming back from, he's on a 2-fight skid, right? Jacare, and then obviously getting knocked out by Dom Reyes. We were there for that. UFC Boston. And then you got Akhmedov, who's on a 3-fight win streak right now. I don't really know too much about Akhmedov. I'm going to be super honest, but from what I know, a decision fighter, right? His last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wins have come by decision. We all know Weidman. He's kind of got that suspect chin. He's on a terrible TKO KO streak. I think this is a pretty good fight for him to come back to be honest. He's going up against a guy with a lot of decisions. I think smart move on their part. They obviously saw some tape on this guy that maybe this is going to be we're going to see Chris use he's a world class wrestler. Maybe we'll see him use his wrestling more. But I don't know. What do you think about the return of Weidman after it's been about a year? So what do you think about this fight?
Yeah, I think this is a pretty favorable matchup for him.
Yeah.
I don't know a whole lot about Akhmedov either, to be honest. But looking back through his record, it looks like he kind of just squeaks out wins. He's been knocked out, and he's got 1 knockout on his record. I think it's pretty low risk for Weidman.
Yes.
I think stylistically it kind of works in his favor. But yeah, again, I don't know a whole lot about the guy, so I might be just underestimating him. But just looking at the stats, looking at his previous fights and all that, I think Weidman's got a good chance in this one.
Yeah, and obviously a guy like Weidman, who was a former champ, who took out a legend not once, twice, Anderson Silva. You'd love to see him get back in the win column, right? He's obviously a good dude. He was a legend at one point, so curious to see if he can come back strong here, utilize his wrestling, and get back in the win column here. So we'll see what happens in that fight, and then let's go right to the main event. Heavyweight main events, get me going, buddy. We got Derek Lewis taking on Alexei Oleinik. Derek Lewis, I think everyone's favorite fighter. We got the Black Beast, 2-fight winning streak. Blagoy, Ivanov, and then coming off a decision, I think pretty controversial over Ir Latifi. And then we got Alexei Oleinik, who, this guy's got friggin' 73 fights, man. He's got 2-fight win streak coming off Maurice Green, and then that dominant performance of Fabricio We're Doomed. So what do you think about this one? I think we got just really 2 different style fighters, man. You got Derek Lewis, who's just an absolute brawler, can knock you out in the first second and can knock you out in the, 14th minute, whatever it is, you know what I mean? So, and then you got Alexei Oleinik, who's really, pretty well-rounded everywhere. So what do you think about this fight, buddy?
Yeah, I think Derek Lewis might just be too strong for him.
Mm-hmm.
I think Oleinik's, game plan going in is to take him down and work his submission game, which I think if he does get him to the ground, he's got a pretty good chance. But, he does a lot of, trips from the clinch. It's not really like any traditional wrestling type takedowns. It's stuff off the cage and things like that. And I think Lewis is just going to be too strong for him. I don't think those type of takedowns are going to work.
Yeah.
And Lewis has so much power in his hands, and I think he's such a better striker than Oleinik. I think if it becomes a stand-up battle, I think Lewis will probably knock him out.
Yeah, and I think just decision making on this one, I think it's a really good fight for Lewis. Obviously, we've seen him struggle on the ground. We saw what DC did to him. I think you're right. I think he's got a ton of power in his hands. Oleinik's old, man. There's gonna come a point where he's freaking old. 73, fights is absolutely crazy. And to go up against a guy with one punch power like Derek Lewis, I'm assuming, like you said, his game plan is going to be to take him down and try to submit him right away. But we all know what the Black Beast can do. He's an absolute savage. So I'm going to take Derek Lewis. I'm going to go knockout first round. I think it's going to be a big one for him. I think he's going to be the old Derek Lewis fashion here. So UFC Vegas 6, whatever you want to call it, UFC Apex 6. You got a fun one co-main, and then the main event here. So next week's show, we are going to do a full review of UFC 252 because that card is absolutely insane. We got the trilogy, Daniel Cormier taking on Stipe Miocic, and the rest of the card is absolutely fire. So we're going to get into that. Listen, CBD, if you need it, click the link below. Use the code Flatline10 for 10% off. You need Flatline merch. We got sweatshirts. We got t-shirts. We got masks. Whatever you need, hop onto our Teespring. Click the link below. Get there. Go buy some merch. Support the boys. We got Venom products. Anything you need, click the link. We got everything for you guys. So let us know. Support us. Click that subscribe button. What do you got, buddy?
That's it.
Until next time, Flatline MMA. Peace.